Okay, for this session, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be investigating or looking into cell validation. What that means is that the data that Sakai wants to enter in will be entered into the blue cells that you can see here. So 111 kids, 1,111 adults, a quality of 1, all of these cell values. And if you let somebody enter in just any random number into, for example, the number of kids area here, if somebody entered in, for example, just random text, it'll actually screw up all your formulas. So you don't want to give somebody the opportunity to do that, even if it was unintentional, like somebody just typed an A and then they get all flustered because they don't know why the cells have changed and why all these value areas are shown here. Well, it's because they've put in the A there and it's not working as well as what they would have liked. So I'm going to show you just a few little tricks in terms of cell validation that will help out these situations to work most effectively. First type of cell validation I'm going to show is how to create a drop-down list box. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that into cell B6. We want there to only be an option to enter cell quality 1, 2, or 3. So what you need to do is highlight the cell that you want to validate, apply validation to, and then click on data, and then click on data validation or data validation, and that prevents invalid data from being entered into a cell. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click data validation, and then I'm going to go into this area called settings, and instead of allowing any value, I'm going to allow a list. And that list can be between, well, I can type in a source of 1, 2, or 3. I'll click OK just for now. And that will create a drop-down list box which will have 1, 2, or 3 there as the options. And that's very simple way to apply a validation. But I can still click on there and click on data validation. And instead of having a list source of 1, 2, or 3, I could have actually typed in the cell range there to D4 to D6. So that means even if the quality here is changed, and let's just remember that the VLOOKUP fields that we've got for the quality actually rely on these cells here. So it's actually more reliable to actually have a reference for those cells rather than to say 1, 2, or 3, because he might want to call it fantastic, excellent, and sloppy service. Then this quality area I can highlight like this. It's another very efficient way of entering in those values. And another thing that I can do is I can click in an input message. If this cell is selected, I could show an input message. I'm not going to do that. And I can also have an error alert. So to show an error alert after invalid data is entered. I'm not going to change this message, but you can actually put a custom message if somebody types in the incorrect information. I don't mind the normal message, but if you find the normal message doesn't suit your needs, you can certainly do that. So if I click on OK here, and then I can change the option for meal number 2, quality number 2, or quality number 3, that's fine, or 1. Or I can click on this cell and try and type in something different, but it says the value I've entered is not valid. A user has restricted values that can be entered into this cell. So then you can click on retry and type in another value. Again, doesn't give you, if it's an incorrect value, it won't allow you to enter it in. And so what we'll do is click in 1 and then it's back to normal. Another type of cell validation that you can do, what I'm going to apply to all of these cells here, is you can actually, and if I press with the control key and just highlight all of these cells, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the data validation, and also I'm going to highlight this cell as well. I'm going to put in the data validation for all of these cells and say they must be a whole number. And I'm going to say it's a whole number greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, the information that gets put into these cells must actually be a whole number rather than any other value. And if I try and type in another value in there, say G, F, again I get that error message. Or if I type in, say, 4.2, again I get an error message. So that's how I can apply data validation to ensure that reasonable data comes into the calculations. And that's the end of the session.